the Tech Bros here, fashionably late, signing in at 10:03. Lauren, I'm working on being like super chill because I think that's what Tech Bros are.
You're
You
on bro
got that.
time.
We're on bro
Yeah, you're
time.
on bro time. Right. Thank
We
you.
sign in when we're ready.
Right.
So
Well, you sign in when you feel. You sign in when the buzz wears off, and when you're feeling like it is
when
when
you're
you
feeling
sign in.
like it, when the Adderall
Right.
kicks in and the caffeine. So
Right,
we,
right, 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 right. When the 10 a.m. beer goes down, but then the Adderall pops back up, right at that cross is
the magic
is
moment.
when the bros sign in.
Yes. So we started last week on the very serious topic of tech bro jokes, which I'm trying to learn, um, making my way slowly in that world. And you brought it to a whole new level this week by launching your own tech bro meme, which I understand most of it, but we're going to do a quick, not to be too academic about it, a quick close reading of your tech bro meme
Oh,
that
we're
you
gonna be
launched this week.
academic about a meme. Okay, all right, I'm
I
excited.
know. See, I can't be a tech bro. That doesn't sound cool at all. But I want to talk about the low interest rates venture capital pool boy, which you launched in your blog, which talked about our show. Um, who is the low interest rates venture capital pool boy, and what do we need to know about this lovely fellow?
Well, there are many of them. First of all, there are many pool boys operating everywhere these days on social media, writing checks, pumping their own investments, and a developer tool that you need to have another developer tool to use, and that developer tool needs another developer tool to use. There's pool boys everywhere. It's just all pool boys these days, and I was chatting with some friends a couple of months ago, and I just came up with this idea of the pool boy. And I wrote our manifesto, or my manifesto, about the Tech Bros podcast or Tech Bros show this past week, about no pool boys and no fireside chats. That's not what we're about, because I don't know if anyone out there is very much into the podcast world, tech shows, tech webinars, talking heads, but everything's been a fireside chat the last 10 years. We're going to have a fireside chat with Mark Cuban and talk about Web3. We're going to have a fireside chat with, the lake house architecture experts. And, I very much just find the whole thing funny. Fireside chats were what Franklin Delano Roosevelt used during the Great Depression, during World War II. Very much the opposite of the last 10 years of low interest rates and just money moving around everywhere. And I think the whole thing's funny. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's pool boys everywhere. Like Mary, what do you want to know about pool boys?
Well, I mean, I didn't understand this world before, obviously, before working in tech, and then more specifically getting to know the tech startup ecosystem and how much a lot of what you call out in the blog is what's happening, like that you have all these startups that are, again, selling to each other. Are they making profits? Are they not? There's like a lot of big questions to be asked about what's actually happening in that world, but nobody's asking them, certainly not on the podcasts and the various other content that many people are being paid to put out there. So that's a little bit of what we're trying to interrupt a little bit and say, look, if you want to come on our show, like the guests who are going to come on today, Maggie and Tom, who are going to talk about their amazing stuff, but like we're going to have a real discussion, right? We're not going to be here to talk about this economic ecosystem happening coming out of Silicon Valley that's kind of like a lot of BS, right? And the tables are turning.
No, yeah.
Well, the tables are turning in terms of people have to face reality now that what's been happening, peddled by these venture capital pool boys, is going to not necessarily collapse, but face somewhat of a downturn because the bigger macroeconomic picture is changing. So it's a better time than ever to like face reality, ask real questions, dig into real things, and have some fun doing it, right?
Right. And not just stir the water and look pretty, which is that's why I call them pool boys. They just stir the water and look pretty. And I want this meme to take off. I might make a sticker out of it. We've got our first stickers in. We've got our poor culture fit red flag stickers. Our Tech Bros swag. Definitely
Huge
very
demand
excited
for
about
those.
these.
Well, you're giving them away and I want to sell them because we need to monetize this somehow, but that's for later on. If people want the stickers, write to Lauren, she will mail them to you. So a lot more to be said about the low interest rates, venture capital pool. Boy, I want everybody to share that meme like crazy because it's fun. And one thing to transition to into our guests today, one thing that you say in your blog and your manifesto about the Tech Bros Show is, we want a space where people can talk in paragraphs, not just in blurbs, and really think about things and criticize things, or critique, not criticize in a mean way, but critique, have some actual critical thinking happening, which is, not really a popular thing to do these days, which is going to sound ironic that we're talking about TikTok today. But we're
yeah,
going to
I'm excited.
Go ahead.
I'm very excited for TikTok. Spoiler alert, I don't have a TikTok. I probably won't have a TikTok. I don't have a Facebook, Instagram. Like, I'm very scared of most social media. And I'm very excited to learn today. I've been looking up our two guests, and, I understand the whole monetization piece. There's a lot of questions about China and security and everything else, which, I know and have known for a little while. But yeah, excited to get in and see what they have to say.
Absolutely. And the gist is that they're part of the tech discourse and they're doing it on TikTok, which is an app known again for maybe, the quick videos, not a deep message. I would argue there's plenty of like deep and interesting things happening there as much as in this so-called thought leadership happening on LinkedIn or certainly on Twitter. They're going to tell us about their journeys, to use a cheesy word. Let's go ahead and bring them on and get into it. All right. So we're going to say goodbye to Pool Boy here just for a while. And we're going to bring in Maggie Wolff, aka Data Storyteller on TikTok, and Tom. Tom, tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Niewiara.
Niewiara.
Yeah.
Got it. And aka Tech Sales Tom. Tom is the true bro here because he showed up even though you were muted. But I'm so glad you came, Tom.
I'm the best too, so.
Yes. You guys are both in Chicago. Lauren's in New York. I'm in LA. Lauren, you get it started with our awesome guests.
Yeah. So, Tom, I'll start with you. I was looking at some of your TikToks. I see you come from a corporate background. You maybe got some side hustle going on, stuff, thought leadership, whatever, on TikTok. Why TikTok? Why now? Why is that the platform for you? And
sure.
If you want to intro yourself and talk about what your, 9 to 5 is, as if anyone works a strict 9 to 5 anymore, and everything there. Yeah.
Definitely. Yep. So sorry about that. Put Do Not Disturb on here. So so why TikTok? Yeah, a lot of questions to go through there. So Tom Niewiara. My current main job is I'm a data and AI sales specialist at Microsoft. Worked at a bunch of other tech companies, Google, Amazon, smaller startups, and then got on TikTok about it was just before the pandemic. Basically, I was hearing about it on the news. Wanted to check it out. Years before that, I had aspirations to do a larger YouTube channel around like some of my hobbies, like cars and motorcycles. So did a few like long form videos there, but then kind of petered off when didn't have like the enough time and energy to like really go full in on it. So the whole short form video thing was really interesting for me. Went into it really just to basically do more car content at first, and then started getting people asking me about what I do for work, and did a few just quick videos, just doing video responses to those, and then got like an incredible amount of response, and then made me realize that there was a pretty big gap in terms of like bringing transparency within the industry. Myself, both my parents immigrated from Poland, no college degrees. I didn't have any industry connections or anything. Went to public school, state school, kind of like stumbled my way in. So I really enjoyed kind of like telling my story and then kind of coaching and mentoring others to make that same change. And then, right around that time, it was about like, I guess, 6 or 12 months into it, when I kind of fully pivoted into tech sales content. That's when I was also noticing actually just a big shift in terms of like the type of content that was happening on the platform. We were going from more of like, music, dancing type videos, mostly related to like the Musical.ly history of TikTok. And then started to see more professional content, specifically within like real estate and the medical profession. and then a little bit on tech, but it was mostly on the developer side, not really on like the non-tech side of or the non-engineering side of tech.
And you've got 200,000 followers now. Massive, massive
Yeah.
followers.
Yep. Yeah. So it grew pretty quickly. I mean, there was like a very big push, initially. There's a lot more people consuming content that was creating content on TikTok in the beginning. So it was definitely like a good time to get stuff out there, just because they needed to feed more content to more viewers. And I've been starting to expand into longer form content. I usually do 1 hour long weekly TikTok lives, and I repost those on my YouTube. I was working with Bravado, and I put together a free self-paced course to basically summarizing all the information I put on through my channel in terms of how you can get into one of these entry-level roles within tech sales. So I always tell people you don't need to pay, 10, 15,000 for like a boot camp, or even like, $1,000 or $2,000 for a course. Like, people have gotten in with just my TikTok videos, and then I extended that to, just making the course for free. So other platforms that I'm active on are Instagram. I'm actually seeing, interestingly enough, more engagement on Instagram lately compared to TikTok, related to follower size. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. I didn't really go into it with any expectations. Was using it as a creative outlet, and then been really excited and to kind of see what I was able to get from it.
You just wanted to make videos about fun cars.
Yeah, pretty much.
And here we are. Maggie, it seems like you were a bit more intentional with your...
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I think when I started making content on like the Data Storyteller account, it was like for that account from day one, it was talking about working in data and my pivot, because I pivoted from marketing to analytics, and like people would ask me about that all the time. Like, how did I do it? What do you need to know? And so it just was me kind of just answering the frequently asked questions that I always get. But I started doing it because I saw, there was all this content about like careers and working in data. And I felt like a lot of the other videos I was seeing really downplayed how easy it was to break into the field. No surprise, those users were trying to sell a course, and making it seem like it's so easy. And I was like, I don't agree that it's just like learn a few things and bam, you've got this high paying job. But I feel like a lot more goes into it. And so I was like, well, let me just create some videos and see if anyone cares. And so far I've got about just shy of 20,000 followers. So not as many, but I'm not doing it for...
It's a lot more than we have.
Yeah.
I have 0.
Yeah, it's just like, as long as people keep asking questions, I'll keep making videos. But if the audience disappears, that's fine. I like my day job. I have no plans to like become a full-time influencer. Like I said, I pivoted from marketing. So there was a point in my career where I was technically a full-time content creator for the companies I worked for. I'm like, I never want to go back to doing that full-time. It's just a way to connect with folks. I'm also active in Slack communities, sometimes on Reddit. There's a lot of related subs there as well. And there's so many people with the same questions, and it's just like, well, I'll try to answer the ones I can and provide help. I only wish this type of thing existed 6 years ago when I was changing careers, because it would have been so helpful. And so kind of I keep that at the front of mind, like to try to be that source that I wish had existed for myself years ago.
Did you want to say something, Lauren, or I'll jump in?
No, I think that's super interesting. And I think like one thing that I think you both mentioned a little bit is the idea of people who are using TikTok for education on something. And a lot of times that's career transition, and, maybe looking into a new field, looking into what someone else does, going from engineering to sales to engineering, marketing to analytics, et cetera, et cetera. Like, how much do you think your content that you create, you're getting feedback loops from people. And if you create content that, speaks to them, you're probably going to make more of it, because they're going to give you more views and things like that. And there's all kinds of, I don't want to say charlatans or, people who might, just be trying to push a course or something. especially these, high paid courses, $10,000, $20,000, whatever. But how do you separate yourself from that when you're trying to educate people about what you're doing or what your field is like versus kind of getting maybe drowned out in some cases by these people who are like very specifically trying to sell something, usually a course?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll take this one first. Yeah, so that's a great question. So, we saw this a lot, for example, within software development. There was like a huge proliferation of these like paid boot camps. Maybe at one point it was a lot easier to get into like these entry level software engineering positions because of the demand. But then we quickly saw a bunch of like these for-profit programs that cropped up, and then there was a nonprofit. I remember I was reading, they did a report and they found, some of them had placement rates of like less than 20%, which was kind of crazy. They're kind of like targeting underrepresented communities that, kind of are, being fed like these over promises and so on. So the way that I try to differentiate myself is I don't charge for my content. I go into it. I'm looking at TikTok really just for me, just to build my own personal brand. I've been very successful in my career. I do a lot of transparency in terms of pay, progression, promotions, and those sorts of things. And then I also, me personally, I get a lot of great feedback from my followers who have made transitions from other fields who never even would have considered sales. Like just yesterday, I was on with a colleague from Microsoft, and he had a consulting background. Never even thought he would do well in sales or enjoy sales, but he made a complete pivot. Was mentoring him informally just through messages, answering questions, and then he was just telling me yesterday he was so glad that he knew this was an option. I have countless other stories too from other people who have very like non-traditional backgrounds, and they've been kind of thriving in the role. And that's really, for me, the difference is just not charging for the content, and looking at TikTok more as just a means to network and align with my future goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just add, in the interest of transparency, I've actually been blocked by another creator who does push that narrative of like selling a course. I think maybe I was a little too snarky in some of my comments. So maybe that's how I separate myself. I get blocked by them.
Lauren knows all about that. Lauren's blocked everywhere.
Yeah, you're talking to the queen of getting blocked right here.
Yeah. I used to just like leave my unfiltered comments on their content about kind of if I thought there was something misleading about what they were saying. But after getting blocked, I was just kind of like, you know what? It's not worth the energy. So I just try to just be as honest as I can in the information I put out there. I get a lot of questions from people about like, should I do this course or this certificate? And I'll just be honest. If I'm like, you know what, I've never heard of that one, so maybe that's a sign. I always tell people, go on LinkedIn and find people who did whatever course or certificate you're considering. If you can't find anybody, that should tell you something. If you do find people, what are they doing now? Does that line up with your career goals? There's your answer. Like do your own homework kind of thing. Like I don't want to be bad mouthing other whatevers, certificates, courses, creators, because I don't want to put bad negativity out into the world. But it's more just like, if you're interested in a career in analytics, you better get used to doing your own research. Here's project number 1. Evaluate these programs yourself. Turn into your own project. So, but I also, will point out like the people I work with or the people I've networked with, this is their background. This is what they've done. So these are proven paths to success in this field. So, look for the patterns. Again, that's another thing you'll need to be doing. So,
yeah, that's one thing. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, doing research is super important. I tell people specifically what to like look out for if you are going to pay for like a coach or a mentor or a program, because there are a lot of them where you dig into it and you find out like, I was looking at one yesterday that was being, sold within my space. And I look into it, and then the person who created it, he had literally, 4 months of like entry-level experience in a non-tech sales role. And then, kind of like selling like IoT devices for like home automation. But then, he's positioning himself as like an expert into, B2B enterprise software sales, right? So yeah, looking at like the background and doing the research, very, very important.
Yeah, no, it's one thing I like about, I know your account less well, Tom, than I know Maggie's. I've followed her a bit longer, and very good at calling out, without being snarky or going after anyone, but like calling out what's real and what's not, what's realistic and what's not. And again, the people that you're both, a lot of people you're both accessing are people who want to get ahead, want to change their lives. Like, I'm big on talking about how getting into tech is financially transformative for a lot of people, myself included, people who need to better their livelihoods for the sake of their families. When you're in the maybe higher ups of the tech world and hanging out with the pool boys and stuff, some of those realities aren't appreciated or talked about, but that's my reality. And you guys are certainly helping people with that. One thing that has just been a pleasant surprise to me on TikTok is I thought TikTok was more like even Instagram, but on TikTok, people cut through the BS a lot faster than on other platforms, even than say here on LinkedIn, where I have most of my followers. And I'll give an example. Maggie, you would have followed this, and Lauren, Tom, maybe not, because you're not in the data space like we are. A few months ago, Zach Wilson, one of the data engineering influencers, posted his salary, salary transparency from, where he was at Netflix to some previous FANG companies. And it went viral, and it was like, wow, people are talking about what they make and what they made in the past and stuff. It's a huge thing. And I think that's awesome. I'm all for that. And kudos to Zach Wilson for doing that. Then I went over on TikTok. I was like, wait, everybody's talking about their salary. Everybody's being transparent. Like, we are so behind the times. And TikTok really is like so many steps ahead. Tom, you even posted your W-2s.
Yeah, I had a few where people would call it out, but to be transparent, like I was skeptical at first too. Like when I was working my first job out of college, I didn't have any connections within big tech or anything. So even you would at that time I'd be Googling for example how much enterprise sales reps or sales engineers would make, and found actually it was like significantly lower than what the reality was. So I kind of latch on to some of that negativity, but then also I think for some people they just really don't know what's possible. They don't know that or like they're seeing numbers or hearing numbers that they thought you would have to be like a CEO, for example, to be making.
Yeah. No, I think maybe moving forward, we'll ask guests what they make. I won't ask. I know you've put yours out there already, Tom. I won't ask you, Maggie, because I didn't ask you ahead of time, so I won't put you guys on the spot right now. But and I'm willing to do it too, like say how much I made in the past. And I'm independent now, so it's different as a consultant. But again, people are doing it. It helps create an environment of equity and accessibility when we get into these realities. What do you think, Lauren? You're like, I don't know.
No, I think I've seen a bunch of people make stuff up about this, things that are just not correct. Like I see from both sides, because traditionally, like when I was younger, about 10 or so years ago, getting into this world, all right, how do I find out how much this job pays or what it should pay? All right, well, let me go look at Glassdoor or whatever. That's like the first thing that would pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And Glassdoor is just not correct for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One is people who do well at companies are less likely to angrily write something on Glassdoor in the first place. And people who don't do as well, or, maybe it's a toxic environment or something or whatever, they're more likely to go on Glassdoor. So you're probably filtering out higher like earners. And second of all, also over time, like they don't really, like salaries go up and inflation goes up over time. If you're looking on Glassdoor, like you're getting salaries from like 7-8 years ago. So even if they're accurate, they're still getting like put into the averages. So it's not correct. So I've seen.
Yeah, they don't.
When I was younger,
they don't show any of the nuance with like leveling or equity or anything.
Yeah,
to it.
right.
Like it's so incorrect on Glassdoor.
Yeah, it's very incorrect, especially for tech jobs and especially for sales, which is commission heavy as well, and can vary significantly year to year, especially if you're, doing like named accounts and you get one named account or you lose one named account. You could go way up or down in a certain year versus last year. But moving on, I think like I'd be curious to know about TikTok and how you plan content, or how you think about what you're going to post. And on other, like Twitter is, as one example, is like people just, whatever pops into their head like 5 seconds ago, they just throw it out there on Twitter. Or, you know, there's like the Roseanne Barr approach where, you know, you just, you know, do some Xanax and get drunk and then put something racist out there. And then you give a bunch of publicists, you know, keep the PR industry alive. You know, they got to go do damage control. And that's one angle. And then there's like, you know, very thoughtful YouTube shows where everything's like coordinated well and it has to be very planned. And you might spend a week, like there's production value to it. Like, how do you think about where in that spectrum TikTok fits, or what you're doing on TikTok fits, or do you have a content calendar? Like, how does that all work?
No, that's an awesome question, because it's definitely actually specifically on even on TikTok, I feel like it's shifted. So, you know, 2 years ago, you know, I feel like a lot of the content that, you know, that goes trending was more raw and unfiltered. Like for the longest time, I would actually just, you know, shoot on my iPhone through the TikTok app, do a quick edit. I do mostly like comment reply videos, so I wouldn't spend a ton of time planning into it. And then, but lately, I think actually there has been a big proliferation of like bringing in higher quality, higher produced pieces. So for me, I keep like a running notes doc of like different topics and videos that I would want to create videos on. It might be like related to just my industry in general, or tying into like a trend that's going on. But right now I kind of like split between doing kind of like the quick and dirty videos just shot from my iPhone, and then I have like, you know, I've invested in like professional video equipment, and then, you know, that type of content definitely requires more planning to shoot and edit.
Yeah, I just use my phone. And yeah, I have like a running list of like ideas in case there's a day where I'm like, oh, I really want to make content, but I don't know what to talk about. But usually mine is just like, if a thought pops into my head, I make a video. Or the great thing about TikTok is like the whole responding to questions. Like that's just a really easy way to keep generating content. So that was really smart on their part, putting that feature in. So yeah, questions. A lot of times if I'm on like Reddit in like a data analytics sub, or even within like a Slack community, if there's a question that I think, oh, that would make a good TikTok video, I'll create that. But I think the most work I go into production is like moving to a part with better lighting, because this room I'm in like has terrible lighting. So I'll just go stand by my windows to make a video, and or maybe I'll like put it up while I'm like preparing dinner. And sometimes I'll do, you know, the like action video where you're doing something talking. That's very popular on TikTok. Do some multi.
So when you start, you I don't have a TikTok either, but I will someday. We're just here to get tips from you guys, really. This is the
We're just stealing all your we're just gonna steal all the good ideas and then make our
I'll tell you my course.
you can tell me your course.
You know, but I feel like a lot of this doesn't even necessarily apply to like TikTok anymore, because, you know, we've seen, you know, TikTok kind of pioneered, I feel like, or they were like the leader with short form video, but then now, you know, Instagram is pushing that as well with Reels, and then YouTube Shorts, and then even Pinterest is starting to pick up as well in short form video, and then LinkedIn, you know, is, you know, kind of promoting those videos too. So
but what I want to get at is that different to like Twitter, where you need to get people to follow you if you want to get some real distribution, and LinkedIn, TikTok is primarily algorithm driven. Explain that a little bit, Maggie. Like
terrifying. It's fascinating and terrifying to me as someone who like knows some things about algorithms just from my work, and then also someone who used to work in marketing, and like my undergrad degrees in communication. So like I have spent a lot of time thinking about how people communicate, and then I used to like manage social media for companies in the past when I worked in marketing. And so to me, TikTok is like, it's so interesting how like from day one, the app was like, no, we are serving up the content that you want, versus every other app made you go find the content you want. And we're like, we're just going to be algorithm based. We're going to serve up this content. And to me, that's like really interesting, because you can find stuff that maybe you weren't thinking of, and find, you know, really cool content. And also anybody can go viral. You could have 10 followers and have a video that gets like thousands of views. So that's interesting. But then it also creates, you know, as algorithms do, they create these bubbles and echo chambers. And suddenly you're only seeing the content that you're engaging with, which, you know, validates your opinions and your views, and you're missing kind of the other stuff, or things that are really controversial get a bunch of engagement. And then like I don't know. It's just so interesting, but
It's like it takes on a life of its own, for better or worse. Like it gets you followers potentially, but then you might end up going in a different direction than you planned. Like you said, there's always the risk of the echo chamber, like with all social media. It's totally fascinating. For either one of you, what's the like video that had the most success? Because it's usually like some totally random thing. It does not have to do with your niche, right?
Mine was one I made. It was kind of shortly after I'd started my account, like last March, and I had made it, and I only remember it because it was I'd run the Shamrock Shuffle in the morning, which is a big race in Chicago, and so I had like washed my hair, but I didn't, I didn't look great, I wasn't looking great, but for whatever reason, I made a video about like 5 reasons why you should apply for a job that you see, and it's basically encouraging people to, especially women, like you don't have to have 100% of the qualifications. You should go after jobs where you're not, totally qualified, and here are 5 reasons why. And I did not expect it to blow up, and it like blew up. And of course, you get a bunch of people who are like, wow, this is, thank you for this. I needed this. And then you get the people who take you literally, and then like, I'm going to apply to work for NASA as an astronaut. And, I'm like, you have missed the point, sir. It's always a man. And so, but yeah,
it's always a bro.
Bro, I'm like, yes. I mean, I understand taking things literally. I, as a data scientist, do that all the time, but this was not that time. But yeah, so that was like, I think my first video that blew up, and I was like, this is scary. Like all these people can like see me. And then that's the other thing with the algorithm. You never know who's going to see you. Is it going to be an ex-boyfriend? Is it going to be a coworker? Is it going to be your boss? Is it going to be, you never know. Like I've had some people like text me from people I know in real life, and they're like, oh, I saw your TikTok video. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
Yeah, what's interesting is, they don't necessarily disclose it up front, but it's like, even if you don't share your phone number, TikTok, they collect the personal information, and they will proactively show your content to anyone who's in your contacts. So as soon as they create an account and then your phone number is in there and they have that, then they start pushing it out there. But yeah, I've had those situations too, where I've had like random employees and directors and higher ups reach out from the companies I've been at. It's been all positive, but it's crazy what the reach can be.
And what was your biggest video to date?
Man, so I see like there's like 2 phases I had in my account. So the earlier phase was, more on like actually some of the car stuff. I think the highest one I had there was like 10 million views, which was pretty crazy. And then on the sales side, I think the highest one was, I think it was like the first like pay stub video that I did. And it was kind of like talking about, the breakdown and taxes and whatever. And didn't actually spend like a ton of time on it, just kind of recorded it, pretty quickly. But I think it was within like the first couple of days, it got like over 1 million views, and was interesting seeing like it was getting like shared and liked from people like around the world. So you kind of, with the algorithm, they start off, with your followers and people like locally close to you. And then as it gets shared and based on the engagement, they spread it out. So I think that was the highest one for me.
Awesome. I know Lauren's got a few more questions, but I want to stop for a minute to say hello to some viewers. David Regalado down in Peru. Hi, David. He says to you, Maggie, and I think this is also for Lauren, a sign that you're doing it well is when other people block you. So that's just a good life lesson, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't want to be a pool boy who doesn't say anything controversial. You gotta say things that sometimes hurt to hear. People, you're saying worthwhile.
Well, Roy brought something up too.
Yeah,
and I was in an echo chamber on LinkedIn with the same people, like LinkedIn and Twitter to an extent. Like I don't know enough about TikTok, but like you'll end up getting served the same content from the same people. And then when people are also like on Substack's like, if you don't know it, it's like a blogging service. People have to subscribe to you, and then everyone backlinks to each other. It all just turns into these echo chambers and these little like pockets, like these little like node clusters of people. Like here's all the tech sales people talking to each other. Here's all the AI people. Here's all the I don't know if there's HR.
There is,
people, going on social media. They should know better, if anyone knows better. Is TikTok better about that or worse about that? Like, getting stuck in these pockets, do you think, than like some of the other social media platforms out there?
So I think in the short term, it's better. But then as you stay on the platform longer, they actually, I mean, they do fine tune kind of the audience that they show your content to. And really the only way to kind of like get out of that, at least on TikTok, is you have to kind of start creating a breadth of content. So there's always a balance of kind of creating like really in-depth, like niche content that's only going to really appeal to like a certain amount of viewers. But then if you really want to expand the audience, you also have to kind of create more short, concise, higher level videos, basic knowledge, or working off, and then tying that into like a trending sound or template or something. And then so if you're able to do that, then it helps with reach. But otherwise, like I think you still see that quite a bit where, in the beginning, they actually push out your content more just to encourage you to create more content on the platform. But then it does kind of like peter off the organic reach that you get to non-followers. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, I feel like in terms of the content I see, it definitely feels like the app tries to like sneak in like some new content to see, do you engage with it? I feel like for a while it kept showing me like women complaining about their husbands. I was like, well, I love this, like, yeah, I'm sorry, ladies. Like, that sucks. I feel bad for you. Valid things that you are saying. Why do you keep showing this to me? I'm in a very happy marriage, not trying to brag, but it just feels so weird. Like, what are you trying to tell me?
You're trying to destroy your marriage.
What is this? Like, that was weird. That has like died off in my feed. So it's kind of interesting how it seems like it'll be like, here's a new trending topic. We're going to see if you like it or not. We're just going to keep showing you videos related to it that we've never showed you before, from users you've never engaged with before, topics that you've never shown any interest in, and then see what happens. So
I had like a couple days on there where TikTok thought I was a lesbian nurse, which was, interesting. Neither which categories I fall into, but I learned something and then figured out that that's not my demographic. I want to say hi to a couple other people. Brian Green, he's in the data space with us. He says he's not a pool boy. We need to maybe get that made as a sticker and send it to you, Brian. Thanks for watching. Tommy Dang, one of the initial tech bros. He was one of our first guests from, is it Mage or Maj.ai? Mage. Anyway, hi, Tom E. And hello from Juan Luis Cano Rodriguez, who I think is a buddy of yours, Lauren. So hi to everybody. And Josh Gallant, who's a regular viewer. So good to see all of you.
I think one question I have, because there's a couple of people in here are either that I'm seeing on the various YouTube, LinkedIn stuff are in sales, or they're founders of companies that are, in the tech space. And I would be curious, like, Maggie, you come from marketing and analytics, so you know all this very well. Tom, sales, selling AI products at Microsoft. And I'll ask you a question at the end about OpenAI and everything,
Sure.
which I think is interesting. But for small companies, like, should they be going on TikTok? Like, should a small Series A SaaS company or infrastructure company or dev tool, and then I think Mary, Tim Chen over at Essence earlier this week was like, oh, hey, look at all the dev tool TikTok picking up. Like, should these small businesses be going over there and doing this? And how should they be doing it right, in your opinions, as like people who know data and work in data and around algorithms? Like, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, so I've done like quite a bit of consulting on this. There's actually a couple startups I'm an advisor on specifically for their social media management. So I think the answer really depends on who your customer is and who your audience is. If you're like an enterprise grade platform and your target is C-suite executives, I don't think you're going to see like a ton of conversion through TikTok. So I guess it kind of depends on what the goal is, right? There's different ways to approach TikTok. There's just building up general brand awareness. There's using it as like a lead funnel. So let's say on like the dev tool side, I've definitely seen like pretty big uptick in terms of like number of like users that are like developers or in the tech space. So I think from an early discovery standpoint, I think it can make a lot of sense. Tracking becomes a little bit difficult. So I always tell tell my clients, you can't use like the same type of like tracking metrics that you do for like performance-based ads, right? It's a kind of a very different approach for short form video, specifically on like TikTok.
Yeah, I would add, like, people go on TikTok to be entertained or informed. So if your content is not doing either of those things, then you're probably not going to get many viewers. People are probably just going to be like, this is not interesting. So if you can find a way to make your company, your brand, your product entertaining or informative, you might be surprised your audience, like the people who use your product, they probably have TikTok accounts. They weren't intending to see your content on TikTok. You never know. I didn't expect TikTok to become an app where I would talk about data science, but people exist everywhere. So, but yeah, I think you have to be entertaining. If you're leading with like, I'm trying to sell to you, I'm trying to like, force my like professional marketing content to you, like it's just going to fall flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait to see like Tableau or somebody put like a 20-page ebook on there. Start putting some ebooks and webinars on TikTok. No, it's cool.
There was some kind of like along those lines where they've really blown up. Like there's been a few like Excel and like Power BI TikTok accounts which really blown up, and then they just do they make like the tutorials like entertaining but very, very short and concise, but like they're providing a ton of value, and then using it as like as a lead funnel to like a full course or whatever that they have within that space.
Yeah, I've seen
is
those.
that independent? Is that independent people doing it, or is that like Microsoft doing it?
So the ones that I've seen, like for example, like Miss Excel, like I think they all started independent, and then eventually I think a few of them have like partnerships with Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to say something, Maggie?
Oh, I've seen like the Excel like quick tutorials. Even I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that in Excel. I just came across one yesterday, and it's not necessarily like a brand related, but it's a user, an account. It's like Math is a Drag, and it's like a person in drag teaching mathematical concepts. And I'm like, oh, this is like, and I think they're actually a math teacher by day, but I was like, this is really fascinating. And this person's really engaging. And like, again, you just never know, like on TikTok, what the algorithm is going to serve up to you. A drag queen teaching math.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, oh yeah, derivatives.
Yeah. A lot of the content, right, isn't like, revolutionary or anything, but yeah, it's just being able to, make it short, concise and entertaining, which is great. And that's why, I feel like everyone's attention span is a bit shorter. But then I think the other thing that probably also contributed was, with the rise of monetization on YouTube with long form video, they like really incentivize creators to basically get to like that 10-minute mark. So that way you can get like 2, in feed ad placements. So in that case, you kind of get some like fluff in the content, but on short form video, you got to get like straight to the point, because otherwise people are just going to go to the next thing.
Quick follow-up here from Juan Luis, who said, Lauren mentioned earlier that someone was talking about dev tools on TikTok. Anybody have references on this? Really interested. But I think you're just talking about the rise. Go ahead, Lauren.
That was you and Tim were talking about that on Twitter or something, and I think I got like tagged in it. Yeah, I guess there's dev tools on TikTok now. Go look up Tim Chen. He's an investor guy in the space. Yeah,
and then increasingly too, just like SaaS companies putting ads, like everyone from Zapier up to like Oracle's NetSuite has ads. I haven't looked at how those are working for them on there. The only ones that you stop to look at are the ones that are entertaining. I thought for me, Oracle's fell flat. Surprise.
Oh yeah,
Zapier's actually Zapier's ads.
The Microsoft guy here is going to say, "Oh yeah, Oracle." They don't know what to do.
But Zapier's actually, they're not funny or anything, but there's just like a dude who's kind of engaging. So like, again, it keeps that it's doing a lot for brand awareness from my perspective.
Yeah, like I saw some ones that went viral with Zapier. I don't think they were directly sponsored by Zapier, but it was like, how you can automate, cross-posting your content to different platforms, utilizing like Zapier, or like doing like, ChatGPT tying to it. So it's like creating brand awareness by also just staying relevant and like providing value through other things that are, top of mind for the audience.
Absolutely. So we've really just touched the surface. Obviously, the discussion that could go on much longer, but we'll wrap it in a minute. Maybe we'll just end on the big question that before we'll take 60 seconds at the end to do our tech bro of the week. But before that, maybe what do you think, Lauren, the big question about like that in the general public about TikTok, do you really think there's a risk of it getting banned? And what do you think of the whole, China having your data? Take it away, either.
My point of view, I mean, I don't know. Anything could happen, but my like advice to anyone who is like putting all their eggs in the TikTok basket as a content creator is this could be shut down tomorrow. And there goes, if your full-time salary is now based on TikTok content creation, there goes your job. And so that's just something coming from like a marketing background, and like social media folks have been around forever. And the advice has always been the algorithm could change tomorrow. This app could change tomorrow. They could change their terms of service, and there goes like your whole business. But who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I think last I heard is they might create a US based something where like all the data and everything is US based. It's still going to be owned by a Chinese company, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Diversifying, and then I think a big thing that you see a lot of like the bigger creators do is they're using TikTok also as a means to like build up an audience, like either through like an email distribution list or tying into like their Instagram or their YouTube. So definitely great to diversify across the platforms. So you also get exposure to like different audience sets. And then in terms of getting it banned, I guess there's been a history already of bans on Chinese companies for technology and hardware for a variety of reasons. So yeah, me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen.
My take is I wouldn't be more concerned about them having my data as opposed to like Facebook or Instagram or the Cambridge Analyticas that fall out of that.
Yes,
and I'm not on there yet, so thank you.
Business Insider, they actually put out some interesting pieces. You should check out with that. They're doing some investigation, which might kind of give you an indication of like potentially like what the risks of the data could be.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could do a whole show on that. Thank you both. Two legit tech bros on TikTok. They have our Tech Bro Show stamp of approval. Follow them, interact with them on there. Do you want to stay with us while we do our 60-second Tech Bro of the Week announcement? All right, we'll keep you with us. I'm going to do a costume change. I don't know if anyone's going to get this, but I forgot that I bought a TikTok costume, which I plan to do the show in this, which is, I don't know if anyone's going to get this, but who wants to explain what this is?
You got to do your skincare routine.
Yeah, so half the women on TikTok wear these because they're doing their makeup while they talk.
I think that is the first TikTok made me buy a purchase was that headband. Mine is black.
Yeah. Have you worn it in the TikTok or you're not?
I haven't. Because I want to be camera ready.
Right.
I want to do my skincare routine. I think I might, too insecure.
So yeah, this is what a lot of the women TikTokers wear, that or like the cap covering their hair or whatever, and they do their makeup while they give you their thoughts on life and careers and stuff. The thing I don't like about this is it makes me look like a Disney adult, which is kind of embarrassing. But
that's a whole new tool on TikTok. Yeah.
About TikTok, that's ridiculous.
So now we're prepared to talk about the Tech Bro of the Week. Who's the Tech Bro of the Week, Lauren?
Oh, the Tech Bro of the Week is Tom Brady because he lost all of his money in crypto and then retired. And he had a great career, of course. I'm a football fan. Number one, greatest of all time. Won more Super Bowls as an individual than any other team. So he's won more Super Bowls than the Patriots because he won all their Super Bowls and won one more with Tampa Bay. Dallas, they're in second place too. He has more Super Bowls than the Dallas Cowboys, which as a Washington fan, I appreciate. And he got tied up in crypto, and we'll see what happens there. But he's our Tech Bro of the Week for announcing his retirement finally.
Oh, love it.
I don't know if you saw the rumors that potentially it might have been one of the divorce drivers, I guess, getting tied into that. But yeah, definitely interesting saga.
I'd only follow the news of the divorce, not of the crypto. So good.
Apparently Giselle has the money in that relationship too. Giselle's richer than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like football. Maggie, are you a football fan, NFL fan? You seem totally disconnected. Yeah, I did date very briefly an NFL player at one point. That was my only connection to. I don't remember what team he played for because it was in a city somewhere in the Midwest. I can Wikipedia it, but yeah, good. All right, Tom Brady's the tech bro of the week. Thank you both. Everybody follow them. We hope to be featured at some point on your TikToks. Maggie, I'll wear this, and Tom, we want to come live on your show at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Go with that now.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, bros.
Oh, and then, Lauren, I don't know.
Take
You mentioned you had a couple questions or, maybe about OpenAI. Happy to talk about it. 'Cause actually, I do.
I've got time.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, we got a few minutes. So you're at Microsoft.
Yeah.
AI sales. Like, how's OpenAI going? How's this going to play out over the next year or two? I see Google's making some moves. Like, what's your take on all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the biggest, technology developments that we've had, in like the past decade. So, I've been in engineering and sales for a while, and the talk track for the past 10 years was, big data, collecting all the data, and this new version or this new wave of AI, generative AI, it's unlocking a ton of value within it. And it's just making it a lot more accessible. So, OpenAI services, they've been out for a while. They partnered with Microsoft, and they finally made those services available on Azure. So you get all of like the enterprise grade security, and then I've seen just so much interest, across the board for sure. Definitely like a key differentiator.
And how is this going to get distributed? Is my other question. And what I mean is, like, Microsoft, they have customers large and small. Is this going to be the type of thing where, like ChatGPT's released $20 a month interface? You can sign up for ChatGPT Plus, and this is kind of a consumer small business type of play, although anyone can use it. Mm-hmm. Is selling subscriptions through that interface where this is going to be the next couple of months, while Microsoft and Google potentially make some bigger moves? Yeah. Is this something that it's going to be enterprise offerings driven in the next year? What does that kind of all look like?
No, great question. Yeah. So there's been several press releases, about it. So, there's been integration of OpenAI already into other Microsoft products. Like they just put out an update, with Teams, for example, where you can get automatic, summarized, meeting notes and then action items for everyone, which is super cool. But then in terms of using the services, so there's GPT, there's DALL-E, there's Codex, for example. So you can deploy those just within your Azure instance. So just like any other cloud service, now it's just integrated. It's just an extension of those. So I'm not sure. I can't speak to what the commercialization is going to be on the consumer side, but for the enterprise side, within cloud, it's like a first party service basically, at this point.
Maggie, have you been inundated with questions? I feel like anyone who has the word data in their resume or title is everyone wants you to explain and be super excited about ChatGPT. Is that what you've experienced?
So the only question I've gotten over and over is this going to replace data scientists? And, my answer is if you can be replaced so easily, then you need to upskill. But, it's a tool. And yes, some people in my position will certainly use it as a tool, but it's not going to come up with the ideas to do the work that a data scientist would do, but it's going to assist them. So, but yeah, that's the question I get is they're like, why even study data science if we have this? I'm like, who do you think is designing this?
Yeah. And there's a whole art actually to, still doing the prompts. Then you also still have the whole data flow that you got to plan around it. You're just if you want to build a GPT model on top of your internal enterprise data, right? You still have to do all the, the data transformation, the cleanup and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like you can just deploy this and replace thousands of jobs. There's still, I think from a data scientist's perspective, it's just another tool to make you more efficient and to actually tackle larger scale problems that you can have. Accountants didn't go away when the calculator, for example, became popularized. So.
Yeah. Lauren, what's your take, Lauren? The few times you and I have kind of chatted about it, you just seem a little bit annoyed Like, is it just the hype that you find?
Oh, I'm just annoyed. I'm just annoyed with everything. I think that like it was very smart of Microsoft to put out ChatGPT in November and get hype like spun up about it, and the whole. I mean, Microsoft didn't put it out, but like it's goes back to Azure. But the whole OpenAI, Sam Altman, everything spinning up that buzz in November was extremely interesting because it led to all these doomsdayers, who ended up on Maggie's TikTok and are asking her if their jobs are going to be replaced. And I don't know, like I'm a huge fan of the idea that jobs are not replaced by technology. I mean, look at all this. Look at the cloud. Wasn't the cloud supposed to replace all these jobs from people that were on-prem? No, we have more jobs. We have more data scientists. We have more SQL analysts and analytics engineers and BI developers and everybody else. We have more. It made more jobs like that.
There's still so much.
Why would this not do that?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I think the announcement coinciding with the tech layoffs, which again, two separate things happening.
Yeah.
Maybe in the public mindset was like a little bit of confusion there too.
That's a good point.
It's going to be interesting to see because at the end of the day, right, like the last 10 years, like everything is, around Snowflake and Azure and AWS in the data world is like around driving compute, which like people don't like to say, but like it is. It's about driving compute and build, utility usage of compute. And everybody knows that. And this is a new way to do it. And I think that like a lot of what we do today in the cloud, data-wise, like putting a data warehouse in the cloud, like Microsoft Synapse or Snowflake or stuff, I think that's going to go away. I think this is going to be where a lot of compute is driven in the future back to the cloud, the CSPs, which are Amazon, Microsoft Azure, and Google, and I'll throw Oracle in there too, but they don't really count. But this is going to be the new way to generate compute now that the big data era is over, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds like the start of a new show. So come back on anytime. We'll talk these and other topics. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time. You probably could have collected like another 1 million TikTok viewers in the time that you've allocated to us. All right. Have a great Friday.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.